Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of full stack web development. In previous tutorial we discussed the way to create and execute PHP files and a brief introduction of PHP variables. Now let us understand the way you can create multiple PHP variables and understand the difference between legal and illegal variables. So what are the variables? Variables are container for storing information and all the variables in PHP start with a dollar sign as you can see here. The important thing is that variables can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores, where variable must start with either a alphabet or a underscore, and a variable can never start with a digit, right? So I'm going to declare three variables here. One is already declared name. So let us declare two more variables. One is x, another variable y, for which value is 10.5. One thing to understand here is that text variables have quotes around it, but the numeric variables do not have any quotes around them, right? And finally, a statement is used to output the data to the screen, and that is echo, right? So just try to print this statement. We have already seen, but what we will do, we'll change this thing from here. As you can see on the screen, I am removing dots, and you will see that still the output is exactly similar as we have seen before. So you can see there is no change. So PHP is a loosely typed language, as you have seen here, that you don't need to tell the PHP which data type a variable is, and PHP assigned it on the basis of value of the variable. Alright, so you can do one more thing. So you can try to print both the variables and put a semicolon at the end. Now try to run this, and here is the output. Both the values are 10 and 10.5. One thing I want to tell you about is difference between single quote and double quotes. So let us put single quote around it and then see the output. I will also put break here so that the next output is on another line. Execute this and see both the values are $x and $y. So I think the difference is clear to you. Double quotes are able to interpret the variables, but if you are putting those variables inside single quote, they they are not interpreted by the PHP, right? There is also a concept of variable scope in PHP. So these three scopes are local, global, and static. I want to comment it out. So there are ways you can comment. Here is a single line comment. Instead of this, you can also use hash. This is also single line comment. If you want multiple line comments, you can use slash, star, and then star and slash, and this will become multi-line comment. Okay. Okay, so we'll understand these concepts one by one. First, create one more PHP tag. It is just for clarity, nothing more than that. So I have pasted these comments over here. Now I will create a function and will provide a name to the function. Create two variables. Let us suppose variable name is var1, which is 10, and var2, which is 20. So the variables declared outside this function are global and cannot be accessed inside this function. Try to access this function and you will get some error. Just run this, but before that we need to call this function. Let's name it small s and capital F. Try to run it. Here you go. Undefined variable var1, right? So we are not able to access the global variables inside this function. Now we will create one local variable inside this function and try to access that and see if we are able to access this. And here we get 100, which is this variable 3. We'll put break at the end. Also try to access these global variables. First write its local variable, access this variable var1 outside this function, and as its global variable, so we can always access it outside. Here you can see variable 3 is 100 and variable 1 is 10. Similarly, if you try to access this variable 3 outside this function, it will give you an error because the variable cannot be accessed outside undefined variable var3, right? There is one keyword global, so using that you can access variable 1 and variable 2 inside, and then you can also echo any one of them, or maybe you can try to add these two variables, and you can also echo variable 2 at this point. If you want to access this variable 2 outside also, you can do it here. We'll write inside and outside. Now try to see the output. Here you go, variable 2 inside is 30 and variable 2 outside is 30, because we have added variable 1 and 2 and that becomes 30, right? PHP stores these global variables in a super global. So let us comment it first and understand how it does. So there is a variable name globals, and it's actually an array. So it has an index which is variable name. We can access via variable 1 using this, variable 2 using this, and let us sum the variables and store it back. So you can see the output of this variable 2. We need to print this one here. Even after this, output will be exactly the same as it was before, because we have we have accessed the variable using that super global. Here you can see there is no change, right? So there is one more concept, that is a static variable. Normally when a function is completed, all the variables gets deleted and destroyed. However, sometimes we want a local variable that we do not want to delete. So to do that, or so to achieve that, we need to use a static keyword. So let us take one example. I will create one more PHP tag here to understand this. Create one function, static check, and we'll call this function using the function name. Create a variable inside this function with name and value 0. We'll echo this variable st and try to increment this variable every time this function is called. I will call this function 2 more times, and every time this function is called, the value will be printed as 0, because when we call this function first time, the value will be 0, and incremented at the end. But when this function returns, the st variable is destroyed. And in that case, on calling that function again, the value is reinitialized or initialized again to the 0. I am putting this statement here just to mark the beginning of next function. And now let us see the output of this function. Here you can see we have three zeros. What we are going to do now, we will put a keyword static in front of the st variable here, and you will see a immediate change in the output. So the first time it should be 0, then it's incremented, that should be 1 and again 2, because the variable is not going to reinitialize again and again. So let's run this program, and here you go, right? So I think we should stop here at this point, because we have discussed variables in much detail. In coming lectures, we will be discussing conditional statements, and then we'll discuss how to handle forms and all that. So if you have any query regarding this, you can always put in the comments. I will try to respond back. Thank you so much.